Well, Tom, first episode of Nux Talk here. Very excited. 6 days away, less than 6 days away from the regular season. How do you feel about hockey coming back? All Canadian division. How excited are you, man? Because I'm fucking excited, man. I'm fucking excited.
I am very excited, Kyle. Very excited.
And let's just clear the air. What are your expectations for the season? What would be a successful season in your eyes? Just so we can get our expectations out of the way right now.
Well, I think we definitely need to make a return to the playoffs.
Yeah.
I think last year was a good building block. I think that the young players had a couple months to grow. Definitely a shortened off season, but a couple more months to grow.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we can just expect bigger things from Quinn, Pedersen. They look like they put on even more weight, as Petey joked about, but they look ready.
Yeah, they do. And what's interesting here is Quinn kind of alluded to it. You mentioned the short off season, right? Quinn says he's almost going into his third season, right? As the playoffs were, like his rookie year was his rookie season. The playoffs were almost like a mini second season. He's got another off season. He looks bulked up. He looks good, ready to go. So take it away. We're going to do a season preview, kind of our lines here. Yeah.
All right, so projected first lines. No surprises here. The Lotto line.
Yeah.
JT Miller, Elias Pettersson, and Brock Besser.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's pretty safe to say that'll be the first line going into game one.
Yeah, I agree. And what are your expectations for this line? Like, for me, I want to see a point a game average across those three players, at least. I think that's very doable. And I think it's going to be necessary for this team to make the playoffs. Canadian division's a hard division. Lot of high-end talent. Maybe not the depth like some of the American teams have, but the high-end talent in the Canadian division is up there with any division, I believe. So our stars are going to need to be our stars. And, I'm actually pretty convinced that they can do that. I mean, our best players in the playoffs were our best players. Something in, again, the kind of the Sedin era Canucks, we saw the Sedins disappear at times. We saw Kessler having to step up. We saw other guys step up. So it's nice to see our stars actually being the stars of the team.
I agree. I think a point a game is going to be important. And I think PD is definitely capable of achieving more than a point a game. 56-game season, if we were talking about earlier, we wouldn't be surprised if you see PD at maybe 65, 70 points this year. It is a bit of a stretch, but it's not out of his reach, I don't think.
No, it isn't. With Pettersson, it seems like he has these stretches where he puts up ridiculous numbers, point and a half a game almost, and then he goes through stretches where he isn't as effective. So I think with the 56-game season, you have a less of an opportunity to be, you cannot be cold for a stretch because that could be your whole season.
Yeah, I agree. I think it comes with confidence, a lot of it. He seems definitely more confident. He seems more vocal around the guys, and he just seems ready to go.
Yeah, he does. I think all the guys are excited to get back out there and return to a bit of normalcy in this crazy time we're having. What's interesting is, do we see JT Miller stay kind of in that center face-off role? Because what happens usually is JT Miller kind of takes the draw and then Pettersson kind of floats towards the middle as they play on in their shift. Is Pettersson going to take more face-offs? I'm just pulling it up. Pettersson last year had 41.8% on the face-offs. Miller with a crazy 59% on draws. Obviously, we had some great face-off takers. Bo Horvat was up at 57. I believe Jay Beagle, let me just bring it up right here, was at 59 as well. We had some of the best face-off guys in the league. Does JT Miller stay in the center for the draws, or do we see Pettersson maybe get some more responsibility there?
I think it's a bit of both. I think JT will definitely stay in there. It definitely helps the team. But Pettersson, you need him to grow. You need him to grow in the center. You need him to start taking those draws, especially the important ones in the D zone, especially because he is a good two-way player. Pettersson's often a reverse back checker. So
Absolutely.
If you can get him out there for big D zone draws, like in the next few years, like if that's a big tool of his game that he can develop, that would be huge.
Yeah, big time. And I agree. And I think Brock Besser, a lot of it was made about him and maybe the lack of scoring last year. He only put up 16 goals in 57 games, had 29 assists, 45 points in 57, plus 14 PIMs. I don't think he had as bad of a season as many people like to make it out. I thought he improved his defensive zone game. I think he's getting smarter. And I think, he had that crazy rookie year where he put up like 29 goals and what was it, like 55 games. And I don't think necessarily he's that purebred sniper that we really thought he was going to project to. I think he's more of an actual complete player than just a sniper. But again, I would like him to shoot more, and I think he is going to be shooting more this year.
Yeah, I agree. I think he just came in, like you said, on his rookie year and just was an absolute tear.
Yeah.
I think he surprised quite a few people, including us.
Yeah, I believe he had 20 goals before Christmas that year, which is pretty ridiculous.
So, I mean, people get tape on you to come in and repeat that in your sophomore season. Would we like it? Yes. Would we like him to get back to some form of that? Sure, but like as you said, his year last year was not that bad.
No, it wasn't. And again, I thought he grew in his own zone, just being a more responsible, mature player. And the goals will come. I'm not really necessarily worried about Brock, and I don't think the Canucks. I know a lot of has been made about him being a trading asset. I don't think the Canucks are ready to move on from Brock at all yet.
No, I think that another big thing with Brock is you need a healthy Brock. I think we've seen on the ice. You watch him play two completely different players when he's healthy and when he's not healthy.
Yeah, big time. And let's move on to the second line here. By Bo Horvat, Tanner Pearson, and the newcomer, Niels Hoglander. I believe he's 20 years old from the SHL, second-round pick in 2019. It's been very exciting through camp. Has scored a couple points. Has looked very good, very shifty. I think it is worth mentioning. I don't want to slow down the Niels hype train here, but he has played half a season in the SHL, Professional Hockey League. That's a bit of a head start on other guys. I mean, he's coming into camp. The puck battles, the board battles has been some of his best showing in camp, and that's really game speed type of thing. So he has a little bit of a head start, but it's still very exciting.
Yeah, I would agree. He's definitely at game speed, which has been evident in the scrimmages. But he has put up points in the scrimmages. He apparently took the puck away from Pettersson. That's a good sign.
Yeah, puck don't lie.
Yeah, Pettersson definitely chased him back for that puck, but no, he's definitely exciting, and I think he's grown a lot quicker than people thought he would. Biggest knock on Hoglander is his size.
Mm-hmm.
People have seen the flashy goals that he likes to score, but I think this is especially this year when we have a little bit of a hole on that. I wouldn't say a hole, but a little bit of an opportunity for someone to step up on that second
Exactly.
line.
Opportunity is the key word there, and he's definitely making the most out of it. No doubt about that.
Yeah.
In terms of expectations for this line, just looking back at last year, Bo Horvat played every game. 53 points, 22 goals, 31 assists. Often matched in a shutdown role. He did get first-line power play minutes, and one of the best power plays in the league, so kind of balances it out. Tanner Pearson, actually, with one of his best career years, 21 goals, 24 assists for 45 points. I would love to know how many points he got on empty netters. I know that line likes their empty netters, so I would like to know that, but still a good year. And then, Niels Hoglander, kind of the unknown. Pretty flashy guy, high talent guy, but also kind of gritty and hard working, which I like. So,
yeah. What
are your expectations? Where do you see this line? Do you see them in a matchup role again with a rookie on it, or how do you see that all crumbling down?
I definitely think we can. There's definitely a floor with Bo. We definitely know what Bo is going to produce.
Yeah.
I don't think he produces less than that floor. Like you said, 53 points in 69 games last year. I think you can expect probably 40 points at least out of Bo.
Yeah.
Anything under that would be a bit underwhelming.
And I think we're going to need him to be a pretty big point reducer as well.
I agree. And I think a big thing with that line is you're always throwing different wingers on his line. There's always a bit of a mix-up as the season goes on.
Yeah.
And if Hoglander can be a steady person on that line, who knows what Bo can do? And who knows what Pearson can do? Because Pearson coming down the wing with his shot is definitely a valuable asset.
Yeah, Pearson is just one of those guys who just, I don't know, like Bo Horvat and throughout his whole career has never really had those two wingers who've always been by his side. I remember him playing with Marcus Grenland at points, and Bo probably deserves a bit more talent on his line. So Pearson has definitely been a calming presence for that. And, good two-way player, can play that matchup role. A veteran, been around the league, knows his way around the net. I don't know how Hoglander is going to do in terms of, he's already played half a season. He's a 20-year-old kid. By game 35, 40, do we start seeing that fatigue out of him? Because it is a very condensed schedule. I believe they have 56 games in 119 days. about a game every 2 days. So I think that's something that we should keep our eye on, but obviously very exciting.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting. I think it could work. We could see fatigue, but I also think having this young of a lineup could be an advantage in the top six, given the shortened season.
Good
I
point.
think there's some older teams in the league. Like I think, they're not in our division.
Yeah.
But I don't know how Washington and those old players are going to do a game almost every night. All
So
those
Dana
back to backs.
and Joe Thornton. He's 41 now, and he's playing first line minutes with the Leafs.
Exactly. Like, there's some old guys, and I think that having these young guys in, and I think the playoff bubble kind of helps. That really short off season where the season stopped, we were off for a few months, and then went back at it. I think they got used to just having a couple months off. I got to bulk up. I got to work out in a different way. Now they just replicated it, and they look like they're ready to go.
Yeah, and I think it's also we can't understate the importance of the playoff experience. Like this season, more like any other, is going to be like little playoff series, essentially every second day. I mean, every game's going to count that much more. It's all in the division, so that's also nice to carry over to this season, and it kind of leads us to our third line here with Roussel, Gaudette, and Jake Virtanen. That's what we're projecting, at least. Obviously, nothing confirmed. Obviously, I wouldn't say I'm on the Jake Virtanen fan club, but I've definitely defended him more than others. We both really like Gaudette. You more than me. I think you've been on the Gaudette hype train for a while now.
Yeah.
You're seeing those dividends pay off, and then Roussel, who's just a complete gnat, and other teams is behind there. So how do you see this line performing, and what would you like to see from them, and maybe the individual players' growth? There's a couple of young guys on that line.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think there's a lot of things that can happen with this line, and I think with the bottom six in general, we're going to see a lot of changes throughout the year.
Mix and match.
Yeah, mix and match. I think Jake Virtanen is an interesting one because the Hoglander thing isn't confirmed on the second line.
Yeah,
right. That opportunity is there, and I think Jake would definitely be the next person to get that chance to move up.
Yeah.
As far as sticking on this line, I mean, I think it's a good fit. Roussel is just that pest, great two-way player, great in his own end.
Yeah, good forechecker as well.
Yeah, he kills our penalties for us. Gaudette will be interesting. This year he's under his draft weight, but he came out and said that he's working with a nutritionist now, and they have a plan to bring his weight up, which is good.
And maybe explain the situation a little more. He had like a kind of a gut issue that has been plaguing him the past couple seasons, in which he couldn't eat or gain weight, or do you know the deal?
Well, actually, he apparently started it in high school when he was playing.
Oh wow!
In the States, and he just would eat, but he basically just gets nauseous and he just can't eat. So he struggles to put on weight because of that, and he didn't know what it was. Thought like fast metabolism, like the normal things, but he finally got diagnosed by a nutritionist, and they have him on a plan. He said it was a long-term plan, but it seems like it's given him confidence at least, and I think that's more important than the weight right now.
Yeah,
because he just needs confidence. I think he's worked on his two-way game quite a bit. Center face-offs are definitely something he wanted to work on.
Yeah, again, he was at 41% last year. That's not great by any stretch, but it definitely leaves room for improvement. But here's what I like is 33 points in 59 games. I think he took a big step next year, and I think given maybe a more prominent role, maybe a more opportunity, more ice time, I know he's probably going to be on the second line power play. I think this is a really big year for Gaudette to show the team that he is really that third line center for the future, that scoring third line center for the future. In terms of Jake, yeah, like again, he had a career year last year, which isn't saying a whole lot. 36 and 69 games, 18 and 18. Big body who can skate. I think he has all the tools. We've said this for quite a while. He has all the tools to be one of those top six winger, power forward, sniper kind of archetypes. It's just, the mental game, the two-way game, the IQ in a sense, little things he needs to get better at. And we'll see. He's only 23, 24 as well. So Gaudette and Jake both have room to grow. And I don't think we've necessarily seen the best from either of them yet.
No, I think big thing about Gaudette improving his faceoffs is he wants to be more of a defensive zone draw guy. And I think that can definitely help us because you look at going back to the second line, Bo and Tanner both minuses to end the year.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's due to their bad defensive zone playing at all, because they're great in their own end. It's just the amount of minutes they're ending up playing in our own end.
Oh yeah, big time. I mean, like Bo was a minus 15 last year, while Jake is a minus 4. They both played the same amount of games, and I don't think anyone's going to say Jake's a better defensive player than Bo.
Exactly. So if we can get Gaudette, Jake, maybe Roussel, even if we can get them playing the way we want in our own end, you take some of that pressure off Bo and you let him be more offensive. He doesn't have to carry the line as much now, and I think that can definitely help.
Yeah, and I think, with Roussel coming back, he said in an interview that he thought he came back a little early from his knee injury. That was also obviously a pretty gruesome injury, and he came back really quick, and I think he did come back a little early, and he said he really kind of settled down once he went into that playoff bubble. And so I'm hoping Roussel comes back this year. I mean, the guy put up 13 points in 41 games. That's something to build off of, and I think he can bring some physical game to our squad that we don't really have necessarily.
I would agree. I think whatever points he puts up is great.
Yeah.
But definitely we don't need him to do that.
No.
He's a big PK guy, big pest. I think the physicality is definitely huge.
Yeah, and the grit as well.
Yeah. The one knock you could maybe say on the lineup is that there isn't much physicality in it besides in the forward group. I think the defense, we got some big bodies back there, some veterans. But as far as the forwards, I think he'll definitely help out.
Yeah, I agree. And let's just kind of finish off the forward core. For us, we have a fourth line of Brandon Sutter, Jay Beagle, and Tyler Mott. I really like this fourth line. If that's our fourth line, we have a very deep team, because in our forward core, we don't have Zach McEwen starting, who I believe deserves to start. I thought he was great last year, and he even looks better in camp. He will no doubt make the team, and he will definitely be one of the first ones in if we're changing things up on the line. But I thought Tyler Mott, to end the year in the playoffs, was one of the unsung heroes of the team, blocking shots, scoring goals, killing penalties, hitting bodies. Great two-way game. I'm high on Mott. I'm very high on Mott. And I think, with pairing him with Jay Beagle and Brandon Sutter, those two veterans, Sutter's pretty crafty as well, actually. 17 points in 44 games. That can be a really effective fourth line and a good shutdown fourth line as well.
I definitely agree. Tyler Mott, as you said, in the playoffs was a complete player. In his own end, he blocked shots, back-checking. And then his offensive talent, I think it's finally coming to the forefront. I don't think a lot of people knew, but Michigan, when he played their college hockey, he was on the first line. He was a scorer. And we saw that shot. We saw his hands in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I think that's definitely a good thing. And with Brandon Sutter, I don't think it's ever been questioning his talent, because the talent is definitely there.
Yeah.
It's just, can he stay healthy?
Oh, yeah, big time. And
when Brandon Sutter's healthy, he's definitely a big part of the team.
Yeah, he is. Another point I've been kind of thinking about is, Jim Benning gets a lot of flack for the Louis Eriksson, and you could even say letting Tyler Toffoli go, and, some questionable moves here and there. But I think one thing that Jim Benning has been severely underrated on is building a locker room. Almost all the guys on the entire team, high character guys, love the game, take their job seriously. I mean, you look at guys like Jay Beagle, JT Miller, Nate Schmidt, Brandon Sutter. These are all vocal leaders on the team that he's brought in himself. So I think that can't be understated, is how well he's actually built this locker room. I mean, if you look at the Oilers, their locker room is just some superstars trying to carry a bunch of scrubs. No offense to Oilers fans, but that's the bottom line. You have the two best players in the world, arguably, and you can't make the playoffs. So I really like the leadership and the room right now that the Canucks have put together. And I think the guys who we don't think about, the Jay Beagles, the Brandon Sutters, who maybe aren't the face of the franchise, they're probably going to be gone quite soon. But these are really important pieces for the development of our young pieces and just the locker room in general. These guys are going to be spending so much time together in the bubble, in quarantine, that you're going to have a strong room. And I think this room is actually one that is really close-knit.
I agree. And I think that our veteran bottom six forwards, I think they're definitely having a big impact, more than we see in the media as far as the top six. Because you look at our top six guys, they've kind of all started to develop their two-way game. We don't have someone that's purely just offensive and is terrible in their own end.
Mm-hmm.
They've all started to develop that game.
Mm-hmm.
Our forwards are getting pucks out of our own end. We're winning defensive zone faceoffs. And I think a lot of that has to do with, I think Manny Malhotra was a big thing with our faceoffs.
And even Travis Green. I think, Travis Green doesn't just play rookies because they're rookies. Travis Green wants you to play the right way. And he's a player's coach too. He was a player. And he'll be brutally honest with players. If you're not playing well enough, you will be sad. It doesn't matter if you're making $6 million, Louis Eriksson, or making $900K. The best player is going to play on the ice. So that competition, I think, is, and to be the best player, you're going to need to play a two-way game in our system. So yeah, I agree with you. Travis Green, Malhotra, our coaching staff, the veteran leaders on this team all contributed to it.
Yeah, and I think that's, like you brought up McEwen earlier, Louis even. There's guys we can plug and play in the bottom six. So it's exactly what you said. You need to be playing. You need to be performing. Otherwise, you're going to get out. Green will take you out. He'll sit you a couple games, and whoever's playing is going.
I completely agree. And that competition is great. All good teams in all sports have depth, and they have constant competition. So always be competing. I'm not totally convinced Brock Besser is going to be staying on the first line for the entire year. We saw him shift down with Horvat. We saw Jake Virtanen on the first line last year actually produce some. Who knows? Could Niels Hoglander find his way with his national friend Pedersen on the first line with JT? It's possible. There's lots of combinations that Green has at his disposal, which is good. But now I think we should be moving on to the defensive side.
Yep. So our first defensive pair, I think we have this, not really a surprise. Maybe for one of them, we got Quinn Hughes and Travis Hamonic.
Yeah. So we put Travis Hamonic there, kind of as like a Tanev guy, where more of the stay-at-home veteran presence for a young, offensive-minded Quinn Hughes. First of all, Quinn Hughes, 53 points, 68 games. He was a -10, 22 penalty minutes. He was absurd in the playoffs, second in Calder voting last year. Where are your expectations with Quinn in 56 games? Where do you want to see him maybe improve, and how do you see him season in general playing out?
His offensive talent is undeniable. The points you just hinted at, I think 56 games, if he's... a point a game would be great, but as a defenseman, that's a lot. That's a lot. Definitely a lot. But I think if you see Quinn at about 40 points would be definitely, in 56 games, you're getting 40 points. That's great first-line production.
Yeah, and again, he got the exact same amount of points as Bo Horvat last year.
Yeah.
In one last game as a defenseman, as a rookie.
Yeah.
So
I think that's saying a lot. I think one area, obviously, first year in the league, every defenseman goes through this. You need to clean up a little bit in the defensive zone. If he could flip that -10, even if he's even, that's a big help to the team. A huge help.
Yeah, that's a good point. And, maybe you don't get any pluses for being on the power play when they score, so that has something to do with it as well. But I agree. I wouldn't say he was bad defensively at all. I think he actually surprised me with the lack of size that he gives up. You would think big guys like Draisaitl or Kopitar would really manhandle him. And I'm not saying he didn't get beat during the season, but he definitely held his own better than I would expect. And, the sky's the limit for this guy. I've kind of thought about it and talked about it. He's projecting to be one of the, if not the best Canucks defenseman in history. Now it's obviously he's 1 year in, and the whole multitude of things can happen between now and the end of his career. But the sky really is the limit. I think we checked today. He was 5th or 6th in voting odds for the Norris this year.
He was, yeah. And I think the other thing that's important with Quinn is in PD's second year, we saw him get a lot more attention physically, getting hit a lot more.
Yeah.
I think that is going to fall partially on the coaching staff. I think it's important not to overextend him, not to play him in the biggest minutes all the time. There's definitely going to be games where Quinn's going to be 25 minutes at least, right? But in games where we have leads, if you can limit him in the shortened season, that'll definitely help.
Yeah, it's a good point. And moving on to Travis Hamonic, what are your general thoughts about the signing in general, and how do you see him fitting in on the team, and I guess with Quinn Hughes?
I definitely think it's a good signing. I'm behind it. Defensively, he brings that presence that we lost a bit in Tanev, and for a lot less money. But there's no contract right now. It's a professional tryout.
Yeah.
But we're assuming we're going to sign him. And I think he brings a lot of the same tools. He allows Quinn to jump up, and that's all you really want. You want a guy that plays sound positionally in his own end. He can move the puck well. It's not like he's slow. He can skate.
Yep.
And
yeah, he can play the PK as well. That's going to help. let's be honest. There's going to be 5 guys who play the PK. Quinn Hughes isn't going to see much time there. So someone who can play the PK, can block shots, solid on the defensive end. I think it's exactly what we wanted. And, thinking back to it, do you want one Chris Tanev for 4 years at $4 million, or would you rather have 4 Travis Hamonics at $1 million? That's a real conversation. And, as a Calgary fan, did you really make a significant upgrade there for $3 more million? I think the jury's going to be out on that. And I love Tanev. I love him. He's been a Canuck forever, a true warrior, but injury problems. Don't know exactly what his offensive upside is without Quinn Hughes. So, I'm excited about Travis Hamonic, and I thought that was a really good move by Jim Benning. Our defensive core was a little shaky without Travis Hamonic, and I think that shored things up a little bit. Moving on to the second line, Tom.
So the second pairing, we have, no surprises, Edler and Nate Schmidt.
Yeah.
I think this is interesting because a lot of it has to do with Travis Hamonic. If Hamonic is able to play that top pair, it allows Nate Schmidt to play on the second pair with Edler. And you match that up against a lot of second line forward lines. 2 solid defensemen. They're going to be playing in the offensive zone, I think, a lot more than we've seen our second defense pair play in recent years. Our defense pair has kind of been stuck in our own end a little bit, but this will really help. Edler's sound positionally, and Nate Schmidt adds a lot of offense for a two-way guy.
Yeah, if this is our second pair, I don't know necessarily if we're going to have kind of a 1-2-3. I think it's going to be kind of like a 1A, 2, 1B kind of thing. But if that's our second line defense pairing, Nate Schmidt, Alex Edler, that's probably one of the best second line defense pairings, not just in the Canadian division, but I could argue in the entire NHL. Nate Schmidt is elite, man. A vocal leader, as we said, but also really offensively inclined. And as a left-hand shot, he can actually play the right side, which is really, really beneficial for us. Tons of experience, has been to the Cup, has played with winners. Again, he's played with Holtby and Jay Beagle before, so there's that kind of Washington connection there. I really like the trade. I think we traded a 3rd round from 2022 for Nate Schmidt, which I would say is pretty solid value there. And again, Edler just seems to just age like fine wine. 33 points, 59 games, plus 13. I don't know really much what you could ask for Edler. He's a 34-year-old guy. Last year of his deal. Does he want to come back for another year? I mean, I think if he has another good year, I don't see why the Canucks wouldn't want to bring him back.
Yeah, he's solid defensively. His positioning has gotten better over his career. Earlier in his career, you would see Edler pinch on almost everything.
Yeah, and the turnovers in the own zone are just drive you crazy.
But now he picks his spots, and he can still shoot the puck from the point. That's definitely a big thing with Edler. On the power play, too. Second power play, he might see some minutes there, possibly. But I think the main thing with our D-core now, with these veterans added, is the amount of depth and the flexibility that we have. I think that's huge.
Mm-hmm.
And I think going into the third D pairing, even Tyler Myers and Olli Juolevi is what we have there right now.
Yeah, and that's what we've seen in camp.
But Myers, potentially, could he be in that second pairing?
Well, yeah, I don't think necessarily Travis Hamonic is if you're ranking the defenseman, he's not the second best defenseman on this team. But what our defense are going to want to do, again, with the PK and with the power play kind of things, the minutes are going to be a little bit, segregated in a way. And Olli Juolevi played PK minutes in Utica. He's talked about him wanting to be a complete player, not only can play the power play, but can also play the PK. And Tyler Myers, again, a big body, a veteran presence. We talked about it last year. We thought he had a bit of an underwhelming year last year. I think inconsistency is the word. 21 points, 68 games, -7. Is that god-awful? Is that like, oh, geez, is this another Louis? No. We do kind of need a bounce-back year for Myers. He's going to need to be and play a bigger role with the losses of Tanev and Stetcher. But I'm excited for Juolevi, man, and I'm wishing him the best. This is him. He hasn't been healthy for like 5 straight years. The IQ is obviously there. The hands are obviously there. He looks confident, and, a compliment would be, I didn't even notice him when he played the Minnesota game. And if I don't notice you, that means you haven't done anything wrong. So I'm excited for this pairing, and I'm excited for the D-core. And we haven't even mentioned guys like Rafferty or Jordy Ben, who are probably going to be on the taxi squad. At least Ben will be. So on to the goalies. Thatcher Demko, Braden Holtby. As we mentioned, probably the best or second best pairing in the Canadian division behind Carey Price, Jake Allen, perhaps.
I think that's a pretty fair statement.
Yeah.
I think some can say we have, if Demko could play anyway, like he did in the playoffs, we have 2 number ones, which is huge for back-to-backs. 56 and 100 whatever days it is.
56, 1 in 119, I believe.
Yeah, so I think that's huge. I think as the season goes on, we're going to get consistency there. And, some teams, they got awful backups that they're throwing in there on back-to-backs.
Well, some teams have 2 backups, like the Oilers.
That is true. They got 2 guys with a lot of arthritis.
Yeah, I think it's a big point to make how this season in particular, you really are going to need to cycle your goalies. I'm going to be very curious to see what Toronto does with Freddie. Ottawa can do what Ottawa wants to do. How many games does Hellbeck play? Does Hellbeck play 40 games? Honestly, he just won the Vezina. So, I think our goalie tandem is going to have to be good and can hope you have a bounce back season with Ian Clark at the helm, with the new D pairing, with new forwards, new system maybe. He has been on the decline the past couple of years, but again, winning a Stanley Cup is a pretty big peak to fall from. So if he can return to form, if he can give us even 70% of what Marchand gave us, I think we're in good hands.
I agree. Like you said, bit of an underwhelming year for Holtby last year. 48 games, 897 save percentage, 311 goals against.
That's not good.
Honestly, good.
That's not good.
Not a great year. But, it happens. And I think this could be definitely a time for him to bounce back. New situation, new goalie coach. Some familiar faces, though. He's got Schmidt. Beagle. I think that's huge. But I think hopefully they can feed off each other. And what we've seen through interviews, too, they're both in Vancouver for the last few months. They've been working with Ian Clark, and their relationship seems to be good. Another thing to look at, you go and look at Demko stats from the regular season last year. Not the greatest. Definitely not bad by any means, but 905 save percentage, 306 goals against. So they're both kind of in that same range last year, where they were good, but they weren't bad. They're just kind of average.
Yeah, and let's say Holtby isn't doing very well, and we allow Demko to take the reins. I'm not very worried about Demko completely having a stinker of a year. What we saw in the playoffs last year was probably the best hockey Demko has ever played in his entire life, and I'm not saying he's going to play like that throughout the regular season, but I think we know what his ceiling is. I think, realistically, Demko is a superstar goalie, an elite-level goaltender who's still growing. The guy's, 24, 25 years old? So if Holtby doesn't have the best of years, it's still okay. We still have Demko, and vice versa. If Holtby's playing well and Demko isn't, we can shade one to either goalie. And that versatility and kind of that diversity in net is actually going to help us quite a bit.
Yeah, I think this speaks actually to the way Jim Benning has built the whole team. He's built every line, every group, the forwards, the defense, the goalies, in the spirit of competition. There's competition in every single spot on this roster, and the goalies are no exception.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever's got the hot hand, especially down the stretch, especially when the playoff race is heating up, do you just see one goalie run away with games? Do you see them both split all the way through? It'll be interesting.
Yeah, and again, this guy probably won't play this year, but Mike DiPietro, 3rd-round pick, he's actually looked very good in camp. He was on the Canadian national team for World Juniors a couple seasons ago. He's played decent down in Utica. That's another guy coming up the pipeline, so exactly to add on to your point, competition. There's always battles. This year you're realistically going to have Sven Berchi, Zach McEwen, and Jordy Ben not even playing on your opening roster. They're going to be on the taxi squad. So not only is that good because we know the Canucks love to get injured. We're going to need depth for that. But again, competition. If you're not playing well, Travis Green has no problem scratching you and putting in someone else. It doesn't matter how much money you're making. We've already stated this. It doesn't matter. He wants to win. It
does not matter.
I'm excited for the year. I think, Tom, I'm ready to be hurt again. I'm ready to completely commit to saying the next 3 years, we should be ramping up for cup runs with our elite level talent.
I think we should be. I think definitely this is going to be a big growth year. It's a year in which you don't know what you're going to get. Yep. I feel like we're going to get a lot of tight scoring games. The rivalries are going to heat up. You see a team 9-10 times a year. Playoff reffing, regular season reffing, what are we going to see? You never know. Are we going to see some? I think we're going to see maybe a few more blowouts than we're used to, with some backup goalies getting more games than they're used to. But I think you're going to see a lot of 3-2 games, a lot of 2-1 games, a lot of tight checking. There's going to be film on everyone this year, and it'll be interesting. But I don't think we can end this without bringing up Mr. 6 Million, Louis Eriksson.
Oh, Lord.
I don't think...
rip the Band-Aid off.
I don't think Louis is going to make the starting lineup, Kyle.
If Louis makes a taxi squad, he should be counting his blessings. If Louis isn't down in the AHL this year, he should be very happy. And here's the crazy part. If you actually look at it, when he plays, he actually doesn't even hurt the team. He actually helps the team win games if you look at it. But yeah, it's unfortunate. I don't think necessarily he wants to be here. I don't think the team necessarily wants him here. Apparently he came kind of out of shape into camp. I don't know what to say with Louis. It's all been said before. If he pops into the lineup, that's okay. I don't want him starting in our top 6 opening night. And he won't be. So if he is, then I'll have to talk to Jim Benning myself.
Yeah, I think that was very well said.
Yeah.
I think we'll leave Louis at that. We've got to put him on a little island over here, and Louis can do Louis this year.
Yeah, I agree. He can take notes.
Yeah. That's about it for what we have for our first season preview. We're both excited for the season to get going. Just a few short days away here. We get Edmonton as our first test, and we'd like to thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for listening. And if you want to get in contact with us, ask us some questions, give us your opinions. Maybe you disagree with our lines. Maybe you think Louis is going to be in the starting lineup. Who knows? You're going to be able to reach us in the description, and we'll be responding to all your comments and questions.